It is day 15 of the historic New York versus Trump trial, and right now, the defense is cross-examining Georgia Longstreet, a paralegal for the Manhattan DA's office. Now, she's testifying to texts and posts about Stormy Daniels, who wrapped up her testimony yesterday. The prosecution's other so-called star witness, Trump's former lawyer Michael Cohen, now set to take the stand on Monday. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm here with my co-host, Kayleigh McEnany, and also joining us today, co-host of The Bottom Line on Fox Business, Dagan McDowell, Fox News contributor Lisa Booth, and Fox News contributor and former White House press secretary Ari Fleischer. I also forgot to introduce myself. I am Emily Campagna. Now, moving to this, Judge Merchant denied a request for a mistrial and a modification of the gag order by Trump's defense team. Now, they argued that Trump should be able to defend himself against Daniels' salacious testimony. Trump railed against the ruling this morning. Watch.
They think they're going to get away with this. If this country allows them to get away with this gag order, and the way the case is being handled, like what they're doing yesterday was incredible. It was incredible. What they did, this trial was so horrible. It's no longer justice, and it's a tremendous abuse of the New York judicial system in particular. The New York judicial system has been absolutely abused, and abused terribly. And it's the whole world is watching. It's very bad. So I'll now go and sit in that freezing cold courtroom for 8 or 9 hours and think about being on the campaign. But I'll be on the campaign on Saturday at 5 o'clock in Wildwood, New Jersey. Thank you very much.
Ari Fleischer, so much that we've seen thus far, and as the president announced, he will be campaigning this weekend.
Yeah, I keep trying to figure out what this trial is all about. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't keep up with it from the legal, technical point of view, but the best I can see as a layman is he's on trial for winning in the presidential election in 2016. He's on trial for running for re-election in 2024. Because if the fact pattern had been the same and he did everything they allege he had done, but he hadn't won in 2016, there'd be no trial. If he had done everything they say he had done, but he wasn't running in 2024, there would be no trial. This is, in one of the bluest counties in America, an attempt to stop Donald Trump from becoming president. That's how I see this entire trial.
And this trial as well, Kayleigh, is equally confusing for attorneys as it is for non-attorneys, because the reality remains that the prosecution has yet to articulate, frankly, charges, right? And how can the defense even adequately prepare a defense when they don't even understand the specificity of charges? They have no idea how to talk about relevance or materiality when, to this day, it remains the district attorney has not articulated the actual charges, let alone brought any evidence for such.
Yeah, a ton of due process problems. This is why this will be reversed on appeal. It's why Alvin Bragg doesn't care. All he wants is a conviction. Look, I have concluded that the prosecution is actually working for Donald Trump. I think that's the only thing you can walk away with. I look at Hope Hicks. I know her. Very credible, very professional woman. Madeline Westerhouse, also know her. Very credible, very professional woman. These two women speak glowingly about Trump. What a great boss he is. What a great person he is. You don't think the jury's soaking that up? And you compare their testimony with the testimony of an adult film star with an axe to grind who speaks to dead people. I mean, that's the best takeaway I had from Stormy Daniels. The jury is going to see this comparison. They will be left to make their own conclusions. One thing I want to point out, we have Cohen, that'll be the cherry on top by the prosecutors. I can't wait to watch that cross-examination and the credibility issues there. But this gag order. The judge yesterday denied Donald Trump's request to remove the gag order. Stormy's out there talking about Trump, but Trump can't respond. Well, the judge said this: my concern is not just with protecting Ms. Daniels or a witness. My concern is with protecting the integrity of this proceeding as a whole. Let's talk about that. And let's pull up this tweet from Will Staken at ABC. These TikToks that Michael Cohen does, they come up and then they disappear. But he captured this one. Look at the shirt Michael Cohen is wearing. That is Trump in an orange jumpsuit. So your next witness is literally out there cheerleading for the imprisonment of Donald Trump. and Trump can't respond. The American people see this injustice. I think the jury will too. I don't know if we get a full acquittal because we are in Manhattan. There's a lot of leftists, but this will be a hung jury, and there is going to be a tailwind behind Donald Trump. That's my prediction.
And here's the thing, Dagan, to everything that Kayleigh said, this is an absolute mockery, a travesty, a circus that has been made of the criminal justice system. As President Trump has said, he calls it an abuse of the judicial system. But the reality is we are all paying for it. We as New York taxpayers are paying for this charade while someone is prevented from campaigning for the highest elected office in the country.
The rest of America, they believe that we're a bunch of idiots for living here and tolerating this. But this is bigger than just New York City and a city corrupted where criminals are coddled by left-wing nuts. This is about lawfare or legal warfare. And I just want to point out Kimberly Strassel's article in the Wall Street Journal today, Trump and the lawfare implosion of 2024. And I won't go into the entire article, but she goes through what has been a really incredible week, not just for President Trump, but in the name of justice and all that is right. And I will just point out the January 6th case brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith hung up at the Supreme Court over presidential immunity. Tuesday, federal judge Eileen Cannon indefinitely postponing Mr. Trump's trial for keeping classified files. That's the Jack Smith case. And then Fani Willis messed up the Georgia case. An appeals court is now reviewing that. This, the Alvin Bragg case, is all they have to hang their hat on. And the prosecutors, by deciding to not call Playboy model Karen McDougal, that was an admission that putting Stormy Daniels on the stand was a whoopsie for them. And then they're going to call Michael Cohen, of course, and he is a serial liar, lied in court under oath and has committed perjury and pleaded guilty to lying to Congress in addition to continually lying to the American people and the public. I can't wait for that cross.
Is the worst yet to come, or did it peak in its valley thus far, Lisa? Help us have some optimism.
Well, I don't know if it matters. I mean, I think Donald Trump has demonstrated that he might be one of the best retail politicians we've ever seen. I mean, you look at him making use of being in New York, visiting a construction site, going to the bodega, turning all of this into, one big campaign stop. But I don't believe Alvin Bragg even wanted a conviction. I don't believe that was the case. I think the intent of all of this was just to try to embarrass Donald Trump, keep him off the campaign trail, because even Alvin Bragg never laid out. I mean, he raised a misdemeanor to a felony and never demonstrated that the falsification of business records was done with the intent to conceal or commit another crime. The prosecution hasn't been able to do that either. And so instead, all they have done in the process is made him a martyr, and everything continues to break his way. As Dagan pointed out, Judge Cannon indefinitely postponing that case, the Supreme Court looking at presidential immunity, now an appeals court looking at Fani Willis's actions, and then here in New York City as well, the judge overseeing that fraud case under investigation. So they've turned Donald Trump into a martyr, and then he has made lemons out of, lemonade in this, and, potentially this could be what elects him.
To her point, final quick thoughts on the
lemonade out of lemons.
The rising amount of Americans who say they will vote for him more if there even is a conviction. That will spur them, to Lisa's point. He is in fact a martyr now, and that will bring more people to his vote.
Yeah, politically, I have long argued that this is such a high-risk case for the prosecution to make, because I think if he's found guilty, so many Americans are going to dismiss it because it's the island of Manhattan, a Democrat stronghold. And if he's not guilty, or it's a hung jury, then I think it propels Donald Trump, because he went into the ring with the heavyweight on the heavyweight's home turf and beat him. And one quick final word. President Trump needs to stop calling the judge conflicted. He needs to explain why he's conflicted. Every day of the trial, he goes in there and he says, the judge is conflicted bigger than I've ever seen anywhere in my life. He doesn't explain how or why. He needs to say that the judge's daughter works for a Democratic political consulting firm that does anti-Trump business. He needs to explain it. Otherwise, it's just an assertion with no proof. And the president, if he's going to say it, back it up, explain it.
I think that's a violation of the gag order. Is it not?
No, he can criticize the judge.
Okay.
He's free.
Not the judge, but the family. That's an
When he
issue.
says, when
That
he
may
says
be.
the judge is conflicted, you can still explain how and why, and I think comply with the gag order.
I might be wrong, but
Surrogates could do that as well.
he's trying to be. President Trump is trying to be careful in his language. That's why he is very
Measured.
measured in his words.
But the
Thank you for
He said he was editing in real time today.
But his
He was reading
surrogates
articles.
don't have to be.
And the assumption that people know why the judge is conflicted just doesn't hold up unless you follow every detail of the trial.
Yeah.
You have to explain these things.
Which we do here for you. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kayleigh McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.